Hi, my name is Mark Walker. I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times. We're here in Riyadh at Seamless. I'm going to ask my interviewee to introduce himself to you, the audience. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name's Neil Taylor. I'm Senior Vice President of Data and AI Strategy for Mastercard. Look after a small global team responsible for ensuring that Mastercard innovates using data and AI responsibly and within our sort of data responsibility, tech responsibility principles.
Okay, sounds fascinating. It sounds like we need to dig into that, what you do a little bit more as a nice statement. So what's the sort of the main role that your organisation plays within Mastercard?
We're here fundamentally to stimulate that innovation and that responsible approach to use of data and AI. So we have a team, I have a small team of strategists based around the world that partner with the different business organizations and support and encourage them and enable them to develop and use data and AI technology and do that within the confines of our sort of responsibility approach.
Okay. I'm going to resist the temptation to jump straight to AI. I'm going to talk about data for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because data is actually the bedrock, if you like, of any system, any company, being able to understand what's going on. So what's the fundamentals of sort of data acquisition and storage from your point of view?
Well, the fundamentals start with that responsible approach, i.e. understanding whose data it is, what are we meant to do with it, and what are we going to do to protect it. So first off, understanding that the data belongs to those that have generated it, be those businesses, cardholders, others. We very much take the approach it's our responsibility to protect that data. And it should be those that generated the data that benefit from its use.
I mean, effectively, you're a custodian of that data on other people's behalf, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. And we take the approach that through responsible innovation, we can create value for those that have generated the data, either through, for example, protecting the network by using the data to identify potential fraud, potential misuse. Can we create additional value for our customers through understanding the sort of anonymized and aggregated data that we have and use that to enable our customers to get a better understanding of their ecosystems and their activities.
That's right. And I guess moving on to the AI side of it, AI is is an extension of utilizing that data in more efficient ways because the sheer scale of data that you can process with modern AI techniques is much larger.
Exactly right. And the uses of AI span throughout the entirety of Mastercard. We've been on that journey for the last 10 years or so, using AI to help detect and prevent fraud on the network, through to most recently enhancing productivity tools for our staff and our partners.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the bit that I kind of like to home in on a little bit. I'm kind of a bit sick of people trying to use AI to create poetry, because I kind of feel like that's my job and that's our job as humans, is to create poetry. Let's use it for the boring stuff. But the boring stuff is the sort of thing that generates good use cases. So give us a flavour of some of the use cases that you've seen recently.
Well, we have a whole range of boring use cases, which I'm sure you'll absolutely love, because they range from simple things like optimizing server uptime or managing cash balances, things like that, where used to have lots of staff doing that. Now they can work more efficiently and more effectively on other areas. We've employed it to help with email and meeting summaries and things like that. So Copilot is a great example of a tool that we've employed to improve and reduce some of the mundane activity that staff have to undertake. It's kind of slightly more excitingly, we're using it in some of our external facing products to help with personalization, help with shopping, help with planning and financial planning and other aspects like that.
And that's sort of more of a predictive sort of engine. So looking at a particular individual, what their habits have been, figuring out from anonymized data what they might most likely be looking for?
Not necessarily focusing on specific individuals, but more trying to understand groups and sort of personas, and then enabling that to inform, for example, promotional activity or something. So one example, our dynamic yield organization does what's called shopping news, which retailers can use to help interpret real world questions from shoppers and recommend specific products. So rather than say, so for example, what should I wear to a formal wedding? Or, what do you have available for a summer ball or something like that?
Okay, really interesting. And I guess being that we're here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and obviously your role is quite global, do you see any differences in the way that people want to adopt AI use cases or adopt the use of data across regions?
We do, yes. We do see differences, and it very much comes down to the maturity of the industry, their understanding of data, their understanding of privacy, their understanding of or their availability of technology. So before AI can become effective, you do need some of that infrastructure, some of that fundamental infrastructure in place. So you need to be able to have data in a place that's accessible. You need sort of strong protections around it so that consumers feel confident, and cardholders and others feel confident about the use of technology. You see differences in, for example, how regulation and legislation is starting to develop in different parts of the world. So some are very much focused, like the Europeans, on trying to create the rule sets within which AI can be used. Others are looking towards more traditional regulations such as data protection, copyright, things like that, to say, okay, actually, we've probably got enough here to regulate the outcome of AI. So I think, the difference between that, do you regulate the output or actually do you regulate the generation of it?
Yeah. We're in a really interesting phase at the moment with technology generally, where technology isn't the hurdle anymore. We seem to have the technology we need, but we need to figure out the best ways of using it. Would that kind of be a correct assumption, do you think?
Almost.
Refine it for me then, please.
Yes, the technology, some of the fundamentals of the technology are there. They're still very much in development. It's still very much, so things like OpenAI and tool sets around large language models are developing rapidly. But you still need those fundamental understandings of how you're going to use this responsibly. Yeah, the fact that you can use it to do, for example, personalized targeting or potentially some quite intrusive activity. The question really is, should you be doing that? And the balance between that kind of responsibility approach and then understanding how do you actually implement that in an organizational context and say, okay, we have a business problem here, or we have a business strategy here. How does AI potentially support that strategy in a way that's going to be effective for our customers and effective for our people as well, for our staff as well?
Fantastic. And I guess for the final sort of question, it's going to be the unfair one of, what's AI going to look like in 5 years? We've seen a bit of a change in, obviously, large language models have exploded at the moment, the open source ones, then lots and lots of small restrictive ones on sort of ring-fenced data. Is that going to carry on? Is that going to be replaced? What are your thoughts?
We're going to continue to see that blend. There is definitely going to be some consolidation in the market. There's a lot of fintechs and mid-sized organizations now offering AI. Everything is kind of AI enabled these days. So I see that consolidation happening. You look at the growth in terms of compute power and speed of that, you see that developing further. And I continue to see actually more models coming from the private sector rather than academic or public side, as has traditionally been the case. So I think there's much more investment coming in from business and industry now than there has been at any point in the past, really.
And do you think that's going to drive more, helpful use cases that businesses will need, rather than, as we joked about earlier, academic uses of, can we make them sing? Can we make them do this?
Yeah. I think if you look at global supply chains and you look at where all the inefficiencies are, and you go, actually, a lot of that is down to administration. It's down to interpreting regulation. It's down to simple paperwork. That's where I see AI really making a more dramatic impact, actually, in the B2B supply chain, so that they become much more efficient. And yes, we'll have the great kind of halo applications that consumers will be seeing and used to. But behind the scenes, there's going to be much more use of AI in internal business.
Fantastic. I could probably talk about this subject with you for another hour, but I don't think we can. Thank you very much for joining me on Seamless TV, powered by the FinTech Times.
Thank you.